Bounce is a style of rap that is meant to be heard in a club or at a party. It's chant-based, often very raunchy, and musically generally based on very few surprising sources. 1986 to 87, the building blocks. For reasons that no one, including people who were there at the time, can fully explain, the Showboys' 1986 song Drag Rap has been hugely popular in New Orleans from almost the second it dropped. Haven't heard of the Showboys? Don't worry. Most people haven't. The group wasn't even from New Orleans, they were actually from Queens, and almost no one actually calls the song by its name. Almost everyone calls the track Triggaman after the name of one of the group's members. Almost every section of Triggaman has ended up in countless bounce songs, but it's the song's opening xylophone riff that is the most iconic part. In 1987, noted Bay Area DJ Cameron Paul, who sadly passed away just this past March, dropped a track called Brown Beats, which got its title from the James Brown sample throughout the track. The song's drums would, for similarly mysterious reasons, form the basis of the bounce sound. How important were Triggaman and Brown Beats to New Orleans? Perhaps Manny Fresh put it best on the Big Timers track Big Ballin'. I brought 2 Triggamans and Brown Beats so you can pop your pussy in the middle of the street. One more crucial musical building block would come in 1989 with the release of the Rebirth brass band's Feel Like Funkin' It Up. That track's opening tuba notes would be the baseline of tons of bounce tracks starting as soon as 1993 with the Sha Ross classic Bootin' Up. 1989, it's buck jump time. Manny Fresh is arguably the most prolific and certainly the most influential bounce producer. But before he was conducting asses being backed up, he was part of a duo with rapper Gregory D. The two released an amusing but slight Nightmare on Elm Street inspired single in 1987, but really struck gold 2 years later with Buck Jump Time. The track was, as Manny remembers, the most popular song in the city for several years after it came out. While it wasn't quite bounce, it did help to create one of the genre's most popular tropes, the project rap. That's the part in nearly every bounce song where the rapper lists off the names of the city's numerous neighborhoods, wards, and housing projects. There have been an example or two of this before Buck Jump Time, but that song, which was actually subtitled Project Rap in its initial pressing, is what made the project rap section part of New Orleans music for good. 1991 to 92, the beginning. It is inarguable that the first time the key elements of bounce, like the raunchy chants, Triggaman, and Brown Beats, the instructions to do then new dances like the pop, came together was in a pair of songs released in 91 and 92. T. Tucker and DJ Irv released a rough, profanity-filled track called Where They At, and then DJ Jimi, along with DJ Mellowfellow and Devious, put together a more polished version called Where They At. DJ Jimi's version would launch him into stardom, sending him on a tour for over 2 years straight. Somewhat ironically though, it was the song's B-side, an answer to Jimi from a female point of view, that ultimately proved more influential, being sampled in songs by everyone from Travis Porter to Project Pat to, yes, Cardi B. 1992, we get a name. Everlasting Hitman's track Bounce Baby Bounce either came out in 92 or 93. No one seems to be exactly sure. Either way, it was crucial. The track, which name-dropped Tucker's Where They At and its ever-increasing number of imitators and answer songs, was probably the first track to add the word bounce into the genre's other elements like the project rap. 1992, Cash Money Records, Where Dreams Come True. Brothers Brian Baby and Ronald Slim Williams formed Cash Money Records right around this time and released their first project in 92. That album, a hardcore project by a teenage rapper named Kilo G, didn't have anything to do with bounce, but most of the label's early releases did. In addition to putting out tracks from more traditional bounce artists like Miss T, Pimp Daddy, and Lil Slim, they also released music from artists who combine bounce elements with a more street sensibility. Those artists and groups like UNLV and PMW created a hybrid genre that came to be referred to as gangsta bounce, and it's the style that would blow up a few years later with groups like the Hot Boys. 1993, Mia X gets her payback. While bounce chants are notoriously raunchy and sexual, the raunchiness goes both ways. In 1993, well before her fame with No Limit, Mia X released a song called The Payback, where she repurposed bounce chants to tease men about their, well, shortcomings. Mia was one of many prominent female bounce artists. Others included Miss T, Cheeky Black, and Magnolia Shorty. Female answer songs had existed before, including DJ Jimi's Bitches Reply and Silky Slim's Sister Sister, which was co-produced by T. Tucker, but this one launched a career that lasts to this day. 1993, DJ Jubilee starts the twerk and the style gets its earliest classics. Who first started or named the twerk remains lost to history, but there's little doubt that the first person to use the dance's name in a song is DJ Jubilee and his 1993 track Jubilee All Stop Pause. However, it was Cheeky Black's 1995 song Twerk Something that really got the train going. At the same time, a whole bunch of influential bounce tracks are released. From Lil Slim's Bounce Slide Ride to Pimp Daddy's Gotta Be Real to UNLV's Sixth and Barone, Bounce's commercial and artistic growth continued. 1998, Cash Money goes national. By 1998, Cash Money had lost almost their entire roster in a swirl of claims of non-payment, but business-wise, they were bigger than ever. They made an unprecedented deal with Universal Records that got the Williams brothers tens of millions of dollars and near total control over and ownership of the music to boot. At the same time, Manny Fresh was putting together a new sound that combined the energy of bounce with the melodies and instrumentation of classical music, a sound that he did debuted on Juvenile's now classic album, 400 Degrees. 1999, a new kind of block party. Katy Red was a different kind of bounce artist. She was the first queer bounce rapper to gain any major public notice with her debut album. By the following year, she had a write-up in the New York Times, and it wasn't too long before queer bounce acts, sometimes lumped together under the name Sissy Bounce, though artists have differing feelings about the name, were a sensation. 2003, R.I.P. Soulja Slim. Soulja Slim began his career in the mid-1990s recording bounce songs under the name Magnolia Slim. While he didn't have a huge national hit until after he died, he was a New Orleans legend. His favorite Reebok tennis shoes, the Workouts, were known universally as Soulja Rees. He was murdered in November 2003, an event that devastated the entire city. And Slim wasn't the only bounce era artist to die violently. Pimp Daddy, Kilo G, DJ Herb, and UNLV's Yellow Boy all were killed in the 1990s. 2003, Big Freedia begins her takeover. Big Freedia released her iconic song Gin in My System in 2003, starting a run that made her not only by far the most popular sissy bounce artist, but one of New Orleans' most iconic performers, period. She would move to TV, appear on tracks with Beyonce and Drake, and even spearhead a world record of the most people twerking at the same time. 2005, Hurricane Katrina. No story about New Orleans can be complete without mentioning the horrific effect Hurricane Katrina had on the city. While the storm was devastating to the city's physical infrastructure, it had a huge impact on the culture as well. Tons of people, including bounce artists like Big Freedia and Katy Red, had to leave the city because of the storm. While this was terrible, it also helped bounce move outside of New Orleans. But it's still, as Fifth Ward Weebie memorably put it, Katrina. 2012, Nikki DeB expresses himself. You can hear and see bounce artists everywhere these days. A big step towards that happening occurred in 2012 when producer Diplo got bounce artist Nikki DeB to appear in the song Express Yourself. Nikki would sadly die just 2 years later. New Orleans' unique brand of hip-hop, bounce music, is once again having a moment in the spotlight after Drake gave the world his spin on the sound and his new hit song Nice for What, and Cardi B sampled DJ Jimi's classic Reply on her song Bickenhead.